annual Milwaukee Journals run today, and we couldn't have got a better day than we have out here. The sun is shining brightly, and Andy, it looks like another record entry.
Hank, it looks like there's as many people in front of us as there are behind us. We could hit 27,000 today. The weather is perfect.
And we've got people coming. You can see the ones behind us. They're still coming down Wisconsin Avenue, heading west to get to the back of the line. Directly behind us is the starting line, and you've got the rabbits up near the front of the starting line, Andy.
Hank, these guys up in the front are the ones that are going to go out of here at about a 4-minute-a-mile pace. We'll have to move this truck again so we don't get caught up with it.
Yeah, Andy and I will be riding in a truck, and we'll be directly in front of the lead runners. We also have a total of 10 cameras covering this morning's run. We've got them mounted in all sorts of places and all sorts of vehicles. There's a camera in a helicopter. There are cameras on top of high buildings. There's another camera on a motorcycle, so we hope to provide you with top coverage of the run. Now, you'll see mostly the lead runners, the people who are out there vying for the title of winner of the 1985 Al's run. But really, that's not the story with this run, is it? It's not really the story, Andy.
No, Hank, I think the story is participation. It's a unique story. It's a private enterprise, the Milwaukee Journal, working with the people of Wisconsin and Milwaukee to benefit Children's Hospital. Maybe 20 people can win this race. 20 people are capable of it. The other 27,000 are out here to have fun. As Al McGuire calls them, they're the $2 bettors. They're putting in their money for the hospital.
Of course, McGuire's charismatic personality has helped enormously in the run over the years. 4,000 runners in the first run in 1978, and yesterday they had 25,000. And we don't know what it's going to be officially, but we're thinking somewhere over 26,000. And I think the nice morning may help swell the total.
Right, Hank. In being here at Marquette University campus, there's a lot of kids who are waking up Saturday morning and deciding the weather's good. I'm going to hop in, too.
They've already started the wheelchair division of the run. They took off just a few moments ago on the other lane here on Wisconsin Avenue. And then, of course, the run itself. But there are also people who simply jog or walk, and we're seeing a tremendous increase in the number of kids that participate, and also in the corporate teams. We've got corporate divisions, and you see some weird-looking costumes, too, Andy.
Yeah, we saw some today that I don't even think we can comment about on the air.
I think that afterwards we'll show you some of those. After the race is over, another thing that's unique about this run is everybody gathers down at the Summerfest grounds. Spider, George, and the Webb will be down there. An excellent 9-piece band. They'll be providing entertainment. They'll award all the prizes in the various categories, age group divisions, etc., etc. But I think we're getting ready for the run, and the man that's going to talk to the crowd right now is the man the run is named after, Al McGuire.
Thank you. Thank you to name all little kids at the hospital. You people down there in front of the hospital, if you wave to the kids in the windows, please. Thank you. My wife and I want to thank you, Milwaukee Journal, and thank yourselves. For some reason or other, God decided to make this a beautiful day. So after the run, please stay at the Summerfest. Let's have some fun. But what I'm worried about, and I tell you every year, so please be patient, is that we have a lot of deaf kids, a lot of blind people in this run, so many handicapped people. So please don't worry about your time. We got these 2,000 or 3,000 people up front that worry about time, that's about it. So we keep them isolated. But the rest of you back there, please go easy at the beginning. No rush. Enjoy yourself. See you at the finish line. Thanks again. Love you. We're definitely going to have to open up these streets down here, gang. Come on. We're going to have a serious problem otherwise. I want to thank Marquette, the city, the bus people, the mail people, and the 500 volunteers. Again, please be careful at the start of the run. If you go down, it might be all she wrote. We have a problem in the front here now. Hey, guys and girls, you're either going to have to get up here in tight, or you got to go up the street. Yeah. I can't emphasize it too much, but hey, just be careful. We don't want anyone hurt. Now, the walk is where so many young children under 6 years of age with their parents, there'll be a second gun that will start the walkers. The cannon will start the runners. Then after the runners clear, another gun will be put off to start the walkers. We have broke the record. We're way over 25,000 people. Congratulations.
Okay, let's wait about 40 pounds. Oh, I thought it...
What was that, Glenn?
Three people are asking the runners on the starting line go out to the north side of the field at the area. We will ask Peter to walk to the north side of the field to the fire.
All right, Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena back to provide live coverage of the 8th annual Milwaukee Journals Run. Al's Run on Wisconsin Avenue has become a Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin institution. And Andy and I will talk while we're waiting to get the run underway. You'll see the start, but we'll talk a little bit about some of the top names. Andy, let's start with the men's division. And we've got the defending champion back, Dave Urich, but there's never been not only a repeat winner, but ever a two-time winner.
No, there hasn't, Hank. And Dave Urich is now living in Boulder, Colorado. And I talked to him at some length yesterday. He didn't come all the way back here from Boulder to finish second. He's in shape. He would like to win the race, but he's got some very strong competition.
We're showing you some shots from our helicopter. I mentioned we had 10 cameras located on tall buildings, motorcycle, helicopter, and you saw a helicopter shot. But he'll have some tough competition, Dave Urich, you mentioned. Andy, who are some of the ones that figured to give him a battle?
Steve Lacy from Madison, the two-time Olympian, is here. Steve won the race in 1981. Tony Rodiez, 1979 winner, is running better than ever. He could challenge. Mark Sisson from UW-Madison is here. Keith Moore, a Milwaukee runner, very tough. Dave is, he's optimistic, but he's cautiously optimistic. He knows that these other runners are all in shape, and this is the biggest running event probably in the Midwest for these people.
Now, in the women's division, we do have a repeat winner. In fact, Sue Schneider will be going for her third consecutive victory, and we saw her here this morning. She may be tough to beat.
Sue is always tough to beat. The last 2 years, she set records each year. Donna Driscoll, who finished second last year, who hails from Muskego, Wisconsin, Parkside, UW Parkside, now lives in Wyoming, has come back and feels she's in shape, that she could do something. Janet Pruitt, who's running very well this summer, a Milwaukee runner, won the Sargento Sprint prior to the City Festival Parade. She is here. It should be a very good race.
If you just joined us, we're watching pre-race coverage, and we're ready. Here goes the start of the 8th annual Al McGuire Milwaukee Journals Run. We are underway, and here come the runners. Going down, heading east on Wisconsin Avenue, and of course, all the way down to the lakefront, they'll end up on the Summerfest grounds. Motorcycles providing accompaniment, police motorcycles, which are the sirens you probably hear. And Andy, looked like a smooth start.
It's amazing, Hank, with all these people that the start can be that smooth, but it looks good. It's too early to tell now who is taking the lead. The runners are pretty well bunched up.
As we said earlier, you got the top runners out in front. You were saying that Tony Rodiez, I figured that he finished fourth last year, figured he made a tactical error last year in getting too far behind?
Tony felt that he should have stayed with the lead runners for that first mile. He felt that they went out a little bit quick. They finished the first mile in 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Tony ran a good second half of the race and finished fourth. This year, he told me he would be with them at mile 1.
Live coverage of the 8th annual Milwaukee Journals Run. We have the wheelchair participants started before the regular runners, and the wheelchair participants should be advised to look out for Phil Lindsay out of Tomahawk. Phil Lindsay, defending wheelchair champion. He's amazing.
Phil has won this race 2 or 3 times prior, and I saw him 2 weeks ago in a marathon, a 26-mile marathon in Wausau, Wisconsin that was uphill. Phil finished it in 3 hours and 5 minutes, so this 5-mile might be a breeze for him.
If you're wondering about how long it takes to run the 5-mile course, the course record, or the record for Al's run, was set in 1982 for the men by Tim Hacker, 23 minutes flat. The women's record, set last year by Sue Schneider, 26 minutes, 30 seconds. So we're looking for around 23 minutes this morning. And the course, Andy, has been changed a bit this year.
The course has been changed slightly. It started about 100 yards west of where it did last year, and it finishes about 100 yards north. Now, looking at the pack, the familiar faces are starting to surface. Steve Lacy is now leading the race. Dave Yerk is on his right shoulder. Tony Rodiez is on his left shoulder. I see the East Bay Running Store T-shirts very prevalent, and I see the Athlete's Foot team from Madison with a lot of runners.
I don't remember those noisy police motorcycles this close to us last year.
This is quite a challenge working with these, Hank. They were quite a bit in front of us. I'm concerned that they're a little bit close to the runners.
Yeah, I think they were supposed to be in front of our truck, not behind our truck, but they got between us somewhere, so we'll have to live with it.
In talking with the runners yesterday, they were somewhat concerned. Steve Lacy has tremendous speed. They thought he may take the first mile out in 4 minutes and 10 seconds. If that happens, it could be an interesting race.
Looks like a group of about 7 or 8 maybe, breaking away a little bit from the rest.
Yeah, Mike Dobrant, I see him in the middle. All these top 200 runners are great, but these ones in the front are just a little bit better.
We're bringing you live coverage of the 8th annual Milwaukee Journals Run. Al's Run, of course, named after Al McGuire, who wears number 1 and will be in the race here this morning. We talked with Al prior to the race. Later on, we'll put on that interview about what Al had to say. But he's not so sure he's going to run all the way this year. However, the group right in front of us here, right behind us, leading the pack, certainly doing some running. And they figure to finish, as we said, a chance to break the 23-minute mark. The new course, a little bit different course this year, make any difference, Andy?
No, the course doesn't make any difference, but the wind today does. It's a south wind, and the last mile and 1/2 is directly into the wind. That will probably jeopardize any record. They have just crossed the 1 mile mark. I did not get a reading on that time.
Now, you were telling me that the race this year is certified for the first time. What does being certified mean?
Certification is a procedure that the Badgerland Striders have complied with. It's a quite involved system of measuring the course. They measure the course and send the information to the National Running Center, and the race then becomes certified. What this means is that if a world record is broken today, it will be a credited world record. I see Tony Rodiez now, who took the lead.
Tony Rodiez ahead in first place. And how far are we along now in this 5-mile course, approximately?
Almost 1.25 miles. We're starting the hill. This next mile will be slower.
And we're going to be right back with more live coverage of the Milwaukee Journals Run right after this.
Milton, those curtains have got to go.
When you have something to sell, it'll go fast in the Milwaukee Journal and Sentinel classified sections.
Milton, your moose doesn't go with the curtains. It'll have to go.
Classified reaches 1 million readers a day, so even a little ad goes a long way.
Milton, your chair doesn't go with the candelabra. It'll have to go. Milton, you don't go with the chair.
Ask about AdLine, our new classified advertising answering service.
we're celebrating the grand opening of the new Conn's in Greenfield with store-wide 2-4 savings at all Conn's locations. Shop Conn's downtown, Brookfield, and now in the Greenfield Fashion Center for fantastic 2-4 savings on everything in the store.
When you're on the way up, press the part. Play it smart, make it Conn's, make it Conn's, make it Conn's.
Grand opening 2-4 sale on now.
Starting Monday on News 4, John Hoyleman focuses on a serious problem facing our schools.
They surrounded us and stole my Walkman and my bus pass.
With incidents of gang violence, vandalism, and drug use on the rise, Milwaukee Public Schools are fighting back. School security is important to us all, so find out what's being done to make our school environment safe by watching A Course in Safety, starting Monday night at 10 on News 4.
We're back live with coverage of the 8th annual Al's Run. I'm Hank Stoddard, along with Andy Arena, former race director, providing insight into this race. And we can hear ourselves a little bit now. We got the police motorcycles moving in front of us, so we can't hear ourselves. And Andy, we're making the curve onto Lincoln Memorial Drive here. Give us an update on the leaders.
It's a horse race, Hank. I see the 3 past winners, Tony Rodiez, Steve Lacy, and Dave Urick in that order, and they have opened up 30 yards on Mike Dobriet and Keith Moore. There's a 4th place runner. I'm going to get his number a little later. These guys are serious. They went on extremely fast.
We have times showing on your home sets on TV. Those are unofficial, obviously. There's an official time, and this is the digital readout we're giving you, but it's fairly close. The time being taken to run the race. And as we told you earlier, somewhere a little over 23 minutes, we figure the winner will cross the finish line down near the Summerfest grounds. As Andy was mentioning, it was a 4-man race, and now it's threatening to almost turn into a 3-man race. We have, well, a 4th runner there still with the lead bunch.
That runner is David Allen from Madison, who's been running extremely well. David is 30 years old, which is very young, but for this group is a little bit older. He's hanging in there, but it looks like a 3-man race, all former winners.
And, you know, we've talked earlier about Tony Rodiez. Tony Rodiez's different strategy this year, and he's obviously going with that, staying up in front rather than falling back and trying to come from behind.
Yeah, Tony is not going to let anybody get ahead of him the way it looks. He's really stayed with him for the first mile, and it was about a 4-minute and 13-second first mile. So Tony is working. It's hard to tell. Steve Lacy looks pretty relaxed now. Usually he looks strained at this point, and he's a threat. In talking to Urick and Rodiez yesterday, Lacy's best mile time is 10 seconds faster than either Urick or Rodiez. They're concerned that if they're close toward the end of the race, that mile speed could really be an advantage.
You can see some of the vast hordes of people competing in this race. The leaders have just passed the 2-mile mark. We've just passed the 2-mile mark. It's a 5-mile run, the 8th annual Al's Run. And you now see the leaders, and still about the same, Andy.
Yeah, still about the same. And to put this in perspective, these guys are at the 2-mile mark, and there are still people crossing that starting line now, Hank, from looking at the monitor.
Yeah, well, you got 26,000 people there. We're not sure about exact total yet, but we feel it'll be around 26,000 this year, and another all-time record. Just to give you an idea of how it's grown, 4,000 runners. We should call them, I guess. I think the first year they were mostly runners. Then we got into the walkers a little later. But 4,000 entrants in 78, 8,000 entrants in 79, 12,000 in 80, 16,000 in 81, 20,000 in 82, 22,000 in 83. Last year, 23,500. This year, we're over 25, could be around 26,000. Anything changing with the leaders, Andy?
Well, Tony Rodiez and Dave Urick are playing tag at leapfrog a little bit. They're jockeying around, and Steve Lacy has fallen back. David Allen has moved into a very close 3rd. I'm a little surprised at Lacy. I don't know if this is strategy or if he was just breathing too hard and felt he should drop back a little bit, but he's losing distance.
Well, before the race, you were telling me, Andy, that some of the top runners were not sure just how competitive Lacy is, what he's been doing lately, how competitive he has been, correct?
Correct. Dave Urick, being in Boulder, Colorado now, maybe has not heard much news about Steve Lacy, but Tony Rodiez, who keeps his ear to the ground pretty well by working at the East Bay store, managing that. Hasn't heard much about Steve this year, so he was a question mark, but they have a lot of respect for him. He's a two-time Olympian.
So it's Tony Rodiez and Dave Urich, the defending champion. And at this stage, it would certainly look like we're going to have our first two-time winner of this in the men's division of the run.
Unless David Allen comes and surprises us, one of those three people will probably win this race. I can sense that Lacy's falling back a little more. Urich looks very relaxed, and so does Tony. Dave Urich told me yesterday, last year he said he would lead from wire to wire, and he was very determined to do that, and it was a mental strain for him. He said he was going to have a little more relaxed attitude about it this year.
Former winners in the men's division in 78, I'll read them from 78 on up. Tom Hoffman, Tony Rodiez in 79, Steve Stenzi, Steve Lacy in 81, Tim Hacker 82, Keith Hanson in 83, and of course Dave Urich last year. In the women's division, the former winners, Mary Zarapata, then Barbara Hawk, Lisa Barry Moore in 1980. In 1981, Mary Beth Spencer. Lisa Moore repeated in 82. Then in 83 and 84, Sue Schneider, who is here again this morning, and I would assume is running not too far behind a group of maybe top, would you say 75, 80 men?
She'll probably finish in the top 80. A disadvantage of this is we can't get back to see the lead woman. Also in this race, there are 32 different age groups. And there are 32 different races within this race. There are 50-year-old men who are very competitive, who are competing against other 50-year-old men. It's as serious as a race in the middle of the pack for them as it is for these guys in the front of the pack. Urich's got about 10 yards now, it looks like.
Now, coming down Prospect here, we are approaching a water stop where they have water in little containers along the side of the road. The top men just kept on going, Andy.
Yeah, they won't take water today. It's cool enough, and they're going for a victory, and even a second would be detrimental to them.
Earlier this week, Channel 4's Mike Goucher went to Children's Hospital along with Al McGuire and some other people to just find out where the money goes from this event. Here's his report.
When he visits the intensive care unit at Children's Hospital, Al McGuire says he can't help feeling inadequate. But the treatment he sees going on around him is a different story.
The care is professional. The love affair between the nurses and the doctors and these children is unbelievable.
But caring for these children is very expensive. Money is needed to buy respirators, ventilators, and set up new programs. That's why hospital officials say the nearly $700,000 raised so far is so important.
I think the state of the quality of care that we're able to render now in ICU has been enhanced by the runners, by Al McGuire and by the Journal's support.
The Journal's support comes not just in sponsorship, but in stories, explaining where the money raised goes.
When we run a story, as we did recently, about new equipment that has been provided for the intensive care unit here, monitoring the vital signs and recording the vital signs of very, very sick children, I think people feel very good about what we're doing.
And what the run is doing, hospital officials say, is making a difference. For Al's Run, I'm Mike Goucher.
Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena providing live coverage here on Channel 4 of the 8th annual Milwaukee Journal's Run. And while we were away watching Mike Goucher's report, Andy, there's been some distance spaced by Mr. Urich, the lead runner, ahead of Tony Rodiez.
It looks like about 30 or 40 yards, Hank. Dave has been training in high altitude with world-class runners in Boulder, Colorado. And it looks like that altitude training is paying off. He looks relaxed. He looks smooth. Tony Rodiez and David Allen are still pushing, though.
We made the turn onto Ivanhoe, the right turn onto Ivanhoe, heading towards the lake. And you probably saw Dave Urich coming around that corner. You're seeing some shots from our helicopter from time to time. You also see shots from some of the 10 cameras we have in use, including cameras at the top of tall buildings. So we're just crossed Lake Drive now on Ivanhoe. Dave Urich, the defending champion, is the leader. We'll be back with more coverage of the 8th annual Al's Run in just a moment.
Milton, those curtains have got to go.
When you have something to sell, it'll go fast in the Milwaukee Journal and Sentinel classified sections.
Milton, your moose doesn't go with the curtains. It'll have to go.
Classified reaches 1 million readers a day, so even a little ad goes a long way.
Milton, your chair doesn't go with the candelabra. It'll have to go. Milton, you don't go with the chair.
Ask about AdLine, our new classified advertising answering service.
A lot of things can make a place special. Here it's the land and the people. A land rich in resources. A people dedicated to working together. It's the dream of a better life. Wisconsin. We believe in it. We're part of it. Wisconsin. We named our bank after it. First Wisconsin. We share the dream.
We're back live with coverage of the 8th annual Milwaukee Journal's Run. We just made the turn down the hill to go down to Lake Drive. And that means a change of wind conditions. Andy Arena, correct? Could that have an effect?
I think so, Hank. It's coming directly out of the south. Now, they all have that same disadvantage. I think where it'll hurt is it'll hurt in the trying to set a record time for today. Also, if someone is a little more tired than another person, the person that's got a little more strength in this wind could have an advantage.
The leader is still Dave Urich. And 2 runners, Tony Rodiez, and the other one back there, is that Steve Lacy?
No, that's David Allen has actually now moved into second place, about 10 yards ahead of Tony Rodiez. It's interesting, if you look the past 8 years at the winners of this race, the typical profile would be a 22-year-old college All-American runner, but in which Dave Urich fits that description now, but David Allen and Tony Rodiez are about 30 years old.
And it looks like Dave is starting to make a little bit of a move on Dave Urich. We'll be back to show you the finish, obviously. We want to show you an interview we did before the race with the man it's all named after, Al McGuire. Here is entrant number 1, Al McGuire. Al, you must live right. Another beautiful Saturday morning for Al's Run.
Well, I live right in certain things, but Hank, let me tell you something. I haven't played golf for 2 years. I played golf Thursday out of Blue Mountain, and there's an apple tree out there. I ate 2 or 3 apples. And do I have the trots?
How will that affect your race strategy? I understand you might trot a little bit this morning, not just run all the way.
No way I can do it. I really don't feel good. I was home all day yesterday, and I'll probably just go out for the first mile, then walk the rest. But I know why George Washington chopped down the apple tree now.
Over 25,000, it would seem assured, another record entry.
Yeah, I'm real pleased about that. I really thought that we have reached the limit, Hank, of the amount of participants. But with the weather and with Pat's walk, I really feel the growth is there. And I can foresee down the future with good weather, because of the young children, they can go 40, 50,000 people for this.
You've got special commitment here with Children's Hospital.
Well, it's very close to me. I visited the other day a couple of times. I feel that the people, as long as we don't forget that the run is for Children's Hospital. You know, the first couple of thousand runners, they get out of the gate
of the 8th annual Al's Run, and we have less than a mile to go, and Dave Urich is still the leader. It would seem like he is certainly the man to beat at this stage, Andy, but you got 2 other fellows hanging in there.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Tony Rodiez and David Allen are just staying at, they've even closed it a little bit. It looks like about 30 yards now. They're really in pursuit of Dave.
In second place, Dave Allen and Tony Rodiez keep exchanging first or second and third place. You know, it may be a little strategy. Is somebody trying to run behind the other one to make the second place guy the lead, the windbreaker for the third place person, or is that much of a factor?
Well, wind could be a factor now. Drafting, I've never thought of that, but drafting today could be an advantage. A person could almost like an auto race slingshot toward the end and have saved quite a bit of energy.
The wind isn't all that great, but it is definitely into their faces as they head down Lake Drive here. And as Andy had mentioned earlier, we're along the lakefront, just going by the lagoon now where you usually see the ducks. And Andy had mentioned earlier the wind is probably enough to prevent a record from being set for this run here today. We got the record that matters, so another record number of participants.
That's the one that really counts, Hank. The scoring system's a little bit different this year, and I think it'll really benefit the women in the race and some of the upper age groups. This year, Burroughs Corporation, headed by Gary Ryan, Ann Sheehan, Marty Mork, and the technical genius Larry Whitus, have set up a computer system at the finish line with the help of the Milwaukee Journal. They should be able to score all the runners this year.
Their race record is 23 minutes. That time you're seeing on your screen is unofficial, but it'll be pretty close. You're looking at the leader, Dave Urich, who now trains in Colorado, and that high altitude may be an advantage, Andy, coming here today?
Well, I think it has been an advantage. I could call the race Dave Urich's race right now. Tony Rodiez is now about 50 yards behind, and David Allen has fallen off. It's glory time for Dave Urich. We're going to go under the bridge and go under the structure that was built by Enrico Construction just for the race this year. Engineer Tom Kennedy designed it, really made it quite a structure.
A lot of people play a role in this race. We've got some people that helped us out here today. We're on a half-ton, is it a half-ton? I don't know much about trucks. It's a pickup anyway from Schlesinger Chevrolet. Want to thank Bob Pollock and Jim Hayes, all the people at Schlesinger Chevrolet for the pace truck that we're in. And the Harley motorcycle roaring by us here. Harley Davidson, of course, the Milwaukee company. And Ron Flender and Dennis Schaefer. I think the motorcycle drivers helped us out with the Harley Davidson motorcycle. So our thanks to those people for helping provide coverage. But the other people involved in the Al's Run number in the thousands, literally, or at least in the hundreds. And we're starting to pass some of the wheelchair participants here in our pace truck, but it's a sprint to the finish line here for Dave Urich, and no doubt who the winner's going to be now.
It looks like Dave Urich. I got to look at the digital clock. It looks like it'll be about 23 minutes and 40 seconds, which is world-class time. It is not a record today, but Dave's going to have that first place trophy for the second time in a row.
Here we come. Here's your winner, Dave Urich, approaching the finish line. We'll later try to zoom in on the women's winner. We always have difficulty because she's quite often in a pack of men, but we will certainly attempt to do that. And there he is, the winner of the 1985 Al's Run, Dave Urich, a repeat champion. Dave Urich won it last year, so Urich is back as the winner again this year. And second,
Tony Rodiez.
Tony Rodiez, second. And
he's smiling, he's happy.
Third, Dave Allen, it looks like, from Madison.
Dave was a dark horse, and he ran a real good race.
Quite a distance between, well, not only the first and second place, but now a little more space as the runners start coming in. Fourth place coming in now.
Steve Lacy has hung in there. He had a good race. I'm sure he's disappointed. He came down here to win the race, but he had some competition today.
Well, here we've got the winner over here, Dave Urich, the winner of the 8th annual Al's Run and a back-to-back champion. And he will jump off this truck now. See if you can come on down here with me. Maybe we can get to talk to, as we watch some of the other finishers come across the line. Why don't you grab Dave, and if he's able to talk yet, talk to him, Andy.
Well, Dave, you're used to training in the altitude, so you should be able to talk. How was it?
It was good. It was harder than last year, though.
Behind us here, Andy. We're going to let everybody see him over there. We weren't sure where the camera was. No, you can stay right here. There we go.
Dave, I was real surprised at how tight that lead pack was. It wasn't until the 2.5 mile mark until you started putting just a couple of yards between you and Tony and Steve Lacy and Dave Allen.
That's the way I planned it. Last year I tried to lead from start to finish. It's a tougher way to run the race, and I just wanted to stay with everybody about halfway and then see how I felt from there.
Dave, you now live in Colorado. I'd be interested for why come back for Al's run?
Well, I guess I wanted to defend my title, and it was just a good way to combine a vacation with the run.
And the cause is pretty good, too.
Right, it's for a great cause.
Congratulations on your victory here today.
Thank you.
Dave, you're the first repeat male winner. It's amazing it hasn't happened before. Congratulations. And you're running with some great company.
Thanks a lot. I think the reason it hasn't happened before is that they have such a good field every year, and there's always a good runner who's going to be able to go out and win it.
Okay, we're seeing, I believe, some of the people still finishing here in the 8th annual Al's Run. We're down near the finish line, and the runners coming across, and now you see some of the walkers who are out on the bridge. The walkers, joggers, limpers, but about 26,000 of them here today. And they're coming across the finish line right under the Lincoln Memorial Bridge that connects with the War Memorial Center. And we're still looking for the women's winner. And if we can spot her coming across, we'll try to bring that to your attention. Corporate teams, the runners split off here coming down Lincoln Memorial Drive. Some of them going to the left side and some to the right. We got the top men on the right side, and over on the left, I think, corporate teams.
I believe the top women are also over on that side, Hank. Maybe we should look over then, and we'll see her coming across.
And you can see, as you look at our shot from the helicopter, the vast number of people taking part in this event. For some of them, it's over. For some of them, they're still only about 2/3 of the way or half the way through. That's a shot from the helicopter and the turn on Ivanhoe. 27:40, we're into the race now. And that's still an excellent time, Andy. You finished this in 27 minutes, 40 seconds. You've done something.
I would say so, Hank. You know, just the fact that people can run 5 miles is quite an accomplishment. And the fact that we can get roughly 20,000 people in this metropolitan area that can do this race does a lot for physical fitness, along with Children's Hospital.
Well, we're going to keep an eye out on that finish line, too, for the women's winner, and see if Sue Schneider defends her title among the women as Dave Urich did among the men. Now, she would probably be coming down the other chute. There's a
woman now.
We have a woman that's has finished the race.
I believe the winners would have been in about a minute ago. I hope.
And a couple other ones have already been in already. So we do have the women's winner already in. And we're going to try to, I think that Don Ayers, the race director, is going to bring the winner over here. I see Sue Schneiderman. She has obviously finished. Did she win it, or did somebody beat her out?
I see Donna Driscoll, and I see Sue Schneider. Both people we talked to, I had trouble saying that, both people we talked to before the race. Let's find out who won.
Well, we'll do that right after we come back from a commercial break. More on Al's Run right after this.
Milton, those curtains have got to go.
When you have something to sell, it'll go fast in the Milwaukee Journal and Sentinel classified sections.
Milton, your moose doesn't go with the curtains. It'll have to go.
Classified reaches 1 million readers a day, so even a little ad goes a long way.
Milton, your chair doesn't go with the candelabra. It'll have to go. Milton, you don't go with the chair.
Ask about AdLine, our new classified advertising answering service.
Whether you're a pro, an amateur, or a weekend athlete, it's no fun being benched. If you're sidelined by an injury, don't suffer any longer than you need to. The Sports Medicine Institute of Good Samaritan Medical Center specializes in taking the pain out of physical fitness. Physicians, physical therapists, state-of-the-art diagnostic and rehabilitation equipment. Everything you need to get off the bench and performing like you did before. Maybe even better.
Attention viewers. Since the beginning of television, whenever a new show hits the air, slick, highly sophisticated promotional announcements are produced to convince you to watch that show. But not this show. All we're revealing is Nighttime, a weekend nighttime that's so exciting, so outrageous that we're saving what's behind the lights for the premiere episode of Dick Clark's Nighttime.
Weekend television's never been so much fun.
Dick Clark's Nighttime premieres Sunday at 10:30 on Channel 4.
We're back live with more coverage of the 8th annual Al's Run, and we have the women's winner, and Andy Rita has the women's runner-up. We'll start with Sue Schneider. Sue, this is becoming old hat for you.
Yeah, I guess so.
3 consecutive victories. What was your time?
27 flat, I think, which is like my slowest time, but haven't had a race in a while, so I'm pretty pleased with that.
Now, I would think the wind, Andy was saying earlier during the race, he said, I don't think you'll see any records for this race today because of the wind. Was it a factor?
I don't think it's particularly a factor with me. I mean, you could feel the wind, but maybe a couple seconds, not that significant.
Now, you run out of the Twin Cities now, but you're from, this is your home territory, right?
Sure is. I love it here.
Anybody want to say hello to you? You're from what, Greendale, Greenfield?
Glendale.
Glendale, all right.
Yeah, my husband and my brother-in-law are all running for the first time today, so they're dying to break 35 minutes, so we'll see how they do.
Well, Sue will have caught her breath by the time her husband crosses the finish line. And Andy's got the runner-up. Andy?
I've got Donna Driscoll here from Muskego, Wisconsin, via UW Parkside, via Cody, Wyoming. She came all the way back for this homecoming.
It was a long ride home, too, but worth it.
Donna, this is you finished second last year and second this year. You ran a good race again this year. Second place, but you've got to be happy.
I'm happy. The altitude here was at sea level, so I thought I'd have the advantage coming back at sea level. But the humidity got me. No humidity up there.
So that is a factor. You were now used to that humidity.
No, not.
How about the wind today? Was that a factor?
It wasn't bad because Cody's known for having pretty strong winds up there, so the wind didn't bother me at all.
The women's race is quite a bit different than the men's race. The men are out in front. They know who's around them. Did you have any visual contact with the lead runner, Sue Schneider? Was she the lead runner the whole way?
She was the lead runner the whole way. I saw her right at the beginning for the first mile or so. Then after that, I kind of lost her in the jostling of the rest of the runners. But I didn't see any other women after that.
Well, Donna, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. Come back from Cody, Wyoming next year. And next year, let's see you win it.
I'm going to try. Thanks.
All right, there's our runner-up and our champion, Sue Schneider. Andy, step back in here with me if you would. I asked Sue, she said she didn't think really the wind was that much. She hadn't been training for perhaps as much. But Jurek, I think, ran a race here today that might have been affected by the wind, because I thought that he probably had a shot at beating his record.
Well, I did too, and the fact that he was pushed almost the whole race, I thought would maybe bring those times down a little, but the times were maybe 30, 40 seconds slower for the race, and the factor probably was the wind.
Well, we're seeing some of the finishers. These are still runners, not just joggers, still runners coming across the finish line here behind us, and of course the walkers will be along before too long. We do not have an announcement yet on the wheelchair winner, but as I said earlier, I thought that Phil Lindsay had to be the favorite, the fellow out of Tomahawk, and I assume that the winner had crossed before we crossed the finish line because they got the head start. You're still seeing some of the great masses of humanity as they complete the 8th annual Al's Run. Now you're looking at some of the walkers, and they, of course, pay their money, and it benefits Children's Hospital as well. And it's quite a sight to look at that helicopter shot and see the number of people who help out Children's Hospital. I think it's one of the cameras from one of our tall buildings. Which one, I'm not exactly sure. The Widmar building, okay. They tell me it's the Widmar building. But Andy, I know you've had involvement over the years with this run. It has to be a thrill for you to see it grow from 4,000 entrants up to around 26,000 today.
Well, Hank, the growth is very exciting to see, and the organization. Now, we're at the finish line. I don't see any jam up. In past years, it was a traffic jam down here with people. This year, the Badgerland Striders, the people from the Milwaukee Journal and Burroughs Corporation are really keeping an orderly scoring system.
I want to remind people who are watching this live coverage of our run, maybe you got friends or family involved in a run and they aren't able to watch it on television, obviously, that tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. we'll have a half-hour recap, a condensed version of the run, so to speak, on Channel 4. So be sure to tune in for that. Milwaukee Journal will bring you that as well. as this live coverage of the race. The numbers, of course, of the contestants they're wearing. And we saw some that were in the 26,000s, but it isn't totally accurate that would be. In other words, they don't necessarily give them out exactly in order. But we're confident that there'll be over 26,000 people having competed in this run before it's all done today. A lot of people just running against themselves, aren't they, Andy? Not, they want to set their own personal best time.
Well, Hank, this is a funny sport. These people, these 22,000 people who are running it competitively, they know that there's only half a dozen guys, half a dozen women who could win this race. But they're going out to beat their personal time, to run 5 miles. They all feel like winners when it's over. There's a lot of stories here today. Fayette teacher from Brookfield, Wisconsin, Luther Lure, in his 50s, 2 years ago, was involved in a hit-and-run accident on a bicycle. He thought he might lose his leg. He's here today running. Knowing Luther, he'll place in his age group. There's the people in the wheelchairs.
Little teeny kids I saw before the race started. Amazing. And they'll be in the walkers group. Al calls them Pat's walkers. He's referring to his wife, Pat. And I haven't seen Al as yet. We hope to get Al over here for some post-race comments. Al is not getting ancient by any means, but he's getting a little older year by year. And so he wasn't sure he was going to run the whole race. And I got to tell Al, maybe I shouldn't let you tell, so let somebody else tell Al, that it wasn't an apple tree that George Washington chopped down. It was a cherry tree. But if Al McGuire wants to tell a story about an apple tree and say George Washington cut down an apple tree, we'll let him get away with it, I guess. We hope to have Al over here eventually when he does finish. But he was talking about running for a while and then jogging for a while and maybe even walking a little bit. But in the past, he's been pretty respectable.
Yeah, he's finished in the low 40 minutes. But this year, I think he just has not trained as much. I think that's more of a factor than his age. And Al's mother's in town this weekend along with the rest of his family, and I'm sure that she'll let him know about that apple tree, Hank.
I'm sure she will. If you joined us late, you're watching live coverage of the 8th annual Al's Run, brought to you by the Journal Company, the Milwaukee Journal. And Dave Urich, former Marquette University outstanding runner, has won the men's division for a second consecutive year. Among the women, Sue Schneider has won the women's championship for a third consecutive year. Dave Urich becoming the first two-time winner among the men. Runners still finishing. You see a shot from up high. It's either from the helicopter or one of the tall buildings. Probably the tall building. And just thousands of people. We think around 26,000 people involved in this year's Al's Run. And Al is wearing number 1. We're going to try to grab him when he eventually comes in. Al is wearing number 1. And he had a kind of an armed escort, Andy.
Well, he did. He had Gary Trotter and Tom Coper from the basketball team, some real tall timber, and another gentleman. He was well protected there. I think Al's a little jealous of Pat. I think he wished he would have thought of that walk so he could have walked this year.
Well, they're still coming through, and we're now about 39 minutes into the run, a little over 39 minutes. The people who are finishing now down here on the lakefront, 39 minutes, 10 seconds it took them to complete the run. I guess sometimes if you're, if you're in the middle, Andy, you're not going to post your best time than if you're, as opposed to when you're out running by yourself, because there can be some congestion, I'm sure.
Well, especially at that starting line where it may take you 2 or 3, maybe 4 minutes across that starting line. What most runners do is they'll start their watch as they cross the starting line, so they'll have an accurate idea of what their actual running time was. But most of the people are down here. It's a party. They're going to go listen to the music and have some cheer down at the Summerfest grounds, and they've done a great thing for the city and for Children's Hospital.
Watching live coverage of the 8th annual Al's Run, brought to you by the Milwaukee Journal. And as I mentioned earlier, a half-hour special tomorrow on the Al's Run. 40 minutes after the start, some of the people crossing the finish line of the 5-mile event. They're still awaiting confirmation of the wheelchair winner. I wouldn't have bet against Phil Lindsay from Tomahawk, but it's not official that he is the winner. And we've got a camera over getting close-ups of some of the people as they come across that finish line. Some of them looked like it was a struggle. Others looked like they just went out for a little brisk morning jog. But all of them have made a major contribution to charity. Children's Hospital, the beneficiary, the major beneficiary of this event.
I see the corporate teams finishing pretty strong over here. Again, United Parcel Service for the 4th straight year registered more corporate runners. They will walk away with a trophy for the most corporate runners on a team. There will also be a trophy for the fastest corporate team. They take the top 5 runners from each team and combine their time, and the team with the lowest amount of minutes is the winner.
We continue to watch the mass of humanity helping Al McGuire help the kids at Children's Hospital as they approach the finish line of Al's run. We're going from here eventually down to the Summerfest grounds. So are all the participants. And down in the Summerfest grounds, they'll have the presentation of the awards. They'll also be entertained by Spider George and the Web, an excellent 9-piece band, local musicians. And the other categories, in addition to just the fastest people, are rewarded as well, are recognized at least. I haven't seen too many of those funny costume people coming across that yet, but there are some weird-looking people involved in the costume competition as well.
I would guess that most of those costume runners are somewhat hindered by their costumes, and they're not out here to set any time. They're out in the crowd having fun, probably shaking hands with spectators along the way.
Well, we may not be able to get to Al McGuire before this run is over, because we're going to be having to get off the air very shortly, and we're 42 minutes into the run, and if Al was going to walk a little piece, he probably won't be around here until about maybe 50 minutes into the run. But you did hear from him during the race, of course, and he has been the major drawing point that has made this race such a success. The winner, once again, if you joined us late, Dave Urich is the men's winner. Sue Schneider, the women's winner. And Andy, we're going to have to sign off with our live coverage. We urge you to watch tomorrow for our half-hour highlight show. Andy, pleasure working with you again.
Hank, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.